I just finished talking about Zero and Ferris, and I think it's funny because it makes way more direct sense when it comes to Bestia and Ignia than Ferris and Zero for this theory, but it's done because I think with Ignia and Ignia and Bestia, we know enough, like in terms of direct association. We just don't have certain specific details. Whereas Zero could lead into so many different weird categories for the story in different ways, like his being brought back and everything about him being an Aetherius now, what that could lead to as the story progresses with Ferris and whatnot. With Ignia and Bestia, though, I think it's way easier to figure out just by logic. So the the thing that I can cut to the chase way earlier in this video is that in a long time ago theory I had that works out now again is that it's because Acnologia in the verse is a symbol of the apocalypse. You look at Zareth the Black Wizard, him being tied to in symbols with death in the verse, and you say, okay, Athena is now like the White Wizard. You have her as now you have Black and White Wizard. You have two of the four horsemen, and you're gonna have to you can't be as direct to as most accurate like color and stuff just because of the way that it's been set up. But you could have as Zero in theory if he is being more important as an Aetherius because he is a demon Aetherius brought back from a corpse, which isn't common. Obviously, like we know with Natsu, and as powerful as Zero is in his base form, it would make sense if he is, in a way, if he is like considered just an idea, the Green Wizard, and if Bestia, in this case, on their side with Ignia, is the Red Wizard. And the thing about her, I think that is really interesting, and just talking about Bestia, is Wed makes a lot of sense to be the second in command for the guild because he's Ignia's son. It makes sense for him to be extremely powerful. We've seen him in actual display of combat. He is very powerful. And who is above him? It's Bestia. Bestia is the one that's the first leader in their guild, so she is stronger than Wed. Why is that important? In terms of her design, she is wearing these long kind of religious like robes. And I've mentioned on Twitter that another group in 100 Years Quest specifically you can look at. There's other groups within Fairy Tail. You look at like even back in Luna Island, just people wearing robes for rituals. But it tells me that she has some form of religious aspects in the verse to her character. Especially you look at she's wearing a thorn crown with a sun on it. So if she is in theory a priestess to the god of fire, if she herself is the god of fire, kind of like how Demaria had like take over for the god of time, or in the idea of like she is like this high level fire and just different types of heat based magic witch kind of thing. Think about like the idea of how Fire and Flame was recruiting specifically fire magic users. If she was a wizard that just in her life dedicated her time to learning these different types of fire magic, and she would be like, she's the idea of like where Zareth would have all these different magics for black magic. If she was specifically in fire magics, and because of that she achieved this again red magic wizard status, and because of that she is just this super master of fire magic, and that would make sense of why her becoming a fire dragon would give her a very special type of flame. And then also on top of that, like she has this other dimension of like weird hellish landscapes upside down that she's got going on. But as it were, again, it makes sense to me if you have an arc where all of these people, because it's not just talking about Ignia specifically, because you got to think about it, it's the True Dragon King Festival. So you were primarily going to have three factions. You are going to have the dragons, which is Ignia's side. You have the Black Wizard, which is Ferris's side, and you have humanity, which is Natsu and Friend's side. And when you think about it right now, either Elisari is either gonna, as far as we know, he's gonna. I think he's gonna turn at some point. We gotta watch him. But if you look at and just say, okay, for now he is on the side of humanity. He has Athena, even though she is like in a different color model, but she is still in structure and ability the white wizard. So she is like the still the side of humanity, having one of these people left, one of these colored wizards out of the three, because Seraph is dead. So it's like, okay, you have but Ferris is like a substitute for that, obviously. But you think about it specifically as like the black wizard, the red wizard, the green wizard, the white wizard. Humanity is the white wizard. Ferris, even though she is a substitute for Seraph, but she, in theory, with Zero, has the green wizard. And with Ignia, if he has the red wizard on his side, it makes a lot of sense if each of these three major factions are given one of these really important wizards. And with Ignia's, again, it just makes sense to me if she is highly powerful, if she has the longest relationship with Ignia. Again, the old religious style, her with the crown that has the sun on it that looks like Ignia's sun, but also looks like the one on his chest, but also the ones within the castle. It's Fire God Castle, which could also does she know Fire God Slayer magic? Does she know does she know Fire God Takeover magic? What exactly is her story? But at the end of the day, I think the thing that makes sense though is if she is in her story was subservient and following of Ignia, and then if she is Wed's mother, I think that just makes the most sense to me. It'll be really surprising if she's not Wed's mother, because if the top three just logically to me are going to be Ignia's lover, who is has this extremely high level backstory and stuff for her characters even before becoming a dragon, but also Ignia's son, who was, again, even before becoming a dragon, an extremely capable swordsman with high levels of physical strength and capabilities. So I don't know, it's very odd to me of just where else she could go with. I want to tweak this thumbnail a little bit. I gotta figure out something probably better to do with this one. This one is the one that I was like, I don't really know about it. But I'll release this one probably maybe last or something. But it's still interesting to me that I think that with their setup, it's obvious. I'll be really surprised if it's not that, oh, Bestia is Ignia's lover or official wife even, and Wed is their child. And it's more so of because stuff like that I think just makes a lot of sense. Even if they're not married and it's just like she's his lover or like ex-lover or whatever. The thing to me that'll be more surprising is if it's something completely different. But I'm more so interested in because again, I think it's very obvious. I'm more so interested in the idea of what exactly in between those points leads to getting us from point A to point C, because there's just everything in between. Like, how did they meet? What lessons did he learn from doing stuff with her? Does he actually love her? Is it just kind of like a scheme thing? What exactly is going on? Who knows? But either way, Ignia right now, I'm so hyped to see what exactly he finds out later. But like both of them are in a really intriguing spot for their characters, because I think Ferris is going to win and Bestia might actually die. But with Ignia is going off to see maybe where his best friend is potentially resurrecting, or his greatest enemy with Acnologia. Who knows? Because one thing I've mentioned is like with the idea of these like whole horseman colored wizards, is it would make sense to me too if it's like we see Elisari acquiring him, and that was secretly the purpose of the Gold Owl arc. Ferris recently acquired in full, like getting it going with Zero, but Ignia has had Bestia for a while, so that's why he is the furthest in his plans. I think that would make a lot of sense because one of the things about it I think would be really cool is it would be that each of these colored wizards instead operate in a way that, because like associating with them ultimately has them act in the environment, like the environment will act faster with them in presence into the next like thing that they're supposed to be involved with, but we'll see. Other than that, I'd love to hear the idea of what you guys think of this idea of this red wizard and the idea of how it could go with Bestia. Because I think it makes sense with Bestia, especially right now. I know this is not my best thumbnail, but as it were, I would really like to hear what other people have to say about her characters. I think she's really interesting. I think her like getting dropped in the verse is it was something that it said like, oh, if she is, X, Y, or Z for Ignia, what does that say for Ignia and like his, what is his attachment to humanity and have, to a person? Will he care if she dies, or will it just be whatever to him? I don't know. Will he just be whatever? I'll find a new woman. Because as a dragon, like he would be like, yeah, we just mate and we just move on. Does he think the same thing with, but willing to do that between dragons and humans? Maybe. Bestia is gonna have to give us some lore soon. But other than that, I'd like to hear what you guys have to say on the idea and the character, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.